Hi, Writers. Thank you so much for joining me today. Cruz here. In this video, we are going to basically edit and or pump up the introduction that was given to us by JR. And so we're taking a senior students, or not senior students, rather, junior students beginning or introductory paragraph to what could be an Accuplacer Writeplacer practice. And we are embellishing it, adding imagery to it, and basically bulking it up for this video. And so if you're interested in, again, seeing writing as a process, then this is a great channel for you. Now, writers, what I wanted to say is before I begin, I'm going to put the timer on for 10 minutes because one of the things that I had mentioned in a previous video is that in some states, they only provide 40 minutes to take the Accuplacer Writeplacer portion. 40 minutes. In other states, it's 50 minutes. In still other states, it's 60 minutes or 1 hour. And then still in other states, it is unlimited time. So to be fair for the students who are living in a state where you only get 40 minutes, I am going to time myself and just allow myself 10 minutes to work on this introduction. Please keep in mind, writers, that I really have not reviewed this paragraph. I just wanted to come in fresh so that, again, you can see my struggle in how to start this introductory essay and make it feel as real and as authentic as possible. Let's go ahead and get started, and my timer is going to go starting now. All right. So the prompt is, if you suddenly received a large sum of money, what would you do with it? And here is what JR wrote. If I suddenly received a large sum of money, my first goal would be to save some of it. Saving some of the money would help me in the future if something bad were to happen. For example, if my car broke down, the money I saved would go towards fixing the car. Lots of great things come when you save. It sets you up when you save, it sets you up not to fail when times get hard. So in that first introduction, what JR did was he automatically, or he starts us off with a specific example. And your introduction and your conclusion really should be more of a summary about the topic, or again, where you're introducing the topic, but you're waiting to give examples later. You want to give your examples in your body paragraphs. So with 8 minutes and 57 seconds remaining, I'm going to go ahead and again do a think aloud on how to construct this essay, this introduction, using really the prompt. And this will come in handy later for when I start looking at body paragraphs. And I will incorporate some of JR's work to see, again, that evolution or how his writing evolved when we added more information. So let's go back to the prompt with 8 minutes remaining. If you suddenly received a large sum of money, what would you do with it? So when we think of money, when white, sorry about that, writers, when might we receive large sums of money? So the time might be where you have received an inheritance. Perhaps you were named in a will. And I don't know if you guys remember, like in Monopoly, where you're in the yellow cards and the orange cards, it's like, oh, you were named in a will and you got this much money, and you're just like, yeah, if only that would happen in real life. So I'm going to start with that idea and just sort of go from there and have some fun with it. So another idea as time goes on, 7 minutes now, is let's say you won the lottery. So that's a possibility too. Um, So let's see. If you suddenly received a large sum of money, what would you do with it? All right, so I'm going to create some imagery here and pretend that I received some sort of letter in the mail. Oh, I just thought of another one. If you were part of a, you know, like a class action lawsuit and you didn't even know you were part of it, and you got a check in the mail. And writers, that has happened to me where I just opened my mailbox and just money appeared out of nowhere because it was part of some sort of settlement that happened. And I got some check for like $1,300. That was fun. That was great. Okay. So let's see. So I'm going to put myself in a mailbox situation. Right, so I'm thinking it's like early in the morning, a weekend. It is early Saturday morning. Okay, I'm going to come back to fix spelling later because right now I want to type, and I've got 5 minutes and 46 seconds remaining. It is early Saturday morning, and my parents asked me to check the mailbox because apparently they forgot to on Friday. Um, let's see. It is early Saturday morning, and my parents asked me to check the mailbox. 3 minutes remaining. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. 1 minute and 6 seconds. 13 seconds. All right, there's my timer, writers. I'm going to dismiss it. I really wanted sort of another sentence here at the end. So here is what I have so far. And again, this is really just ways to think about how to approach these Accuplacer Writeplacer essays. Again, especially under time constraints, you may not, as you can see, I just fixed like Saturday and realize you may not have time to do that, to go back and fix, some spelling errors, etc. And most graders recognize that and they understand that as you're typing, you know, feverishly typing and or furiously typing, that you're going to be making mistakes. So they recognize that. But it just gives you sort of a sense of how much I was able to accomplish under the time constraints. Keep in mind that I did take time to brainstorm a little bit of an inheritance, being named in a will, maybe winning the lottery, or receiving some sort of check in the mail because of a class action lawsuit. So here is what I have so far as the introduction. Again, keep in mind, writers, there are thousands and thousands of possibilities, as billions of possibilities, really. As many people there are on this planet represents all of the possibilities that can be created. So here's what we have that I came up with under time constraints. It is early Saturday morning, and my parents asked me to check the mailbox. Apparently, they forgot their parental duties last night. As I spy on their paper gifts, I notice a letter addressed to me. I hurry in the house and sling their mail on the dining room table, but I sequester my envelope and open it as I scurry back to my room. When I tear it open and begin reading the letter, I realize there is a hefty check inside. Interesting, maybe, providing, in this case, I was sort of going for some imagery and some action based writing where you feel like you're in the moment and imagining yourself, and again, some of you guys just have your mailbox duty and that's your job too, that it's not your parents who check the mail, but it's you who check the mail. So again, you can adjust, but this is just one possibility. And what I was trying to think of is maybe closing with a sentence of just like, when I tear it open and begin reading the letter, I realize there is a hefty check inside. Um, and then maybe something like addressed to me. And, maybe I leave it there. Or maybe I add another cliffhanger, and maybe I add, my mind starts to wander and I begin to dream about how I will use this money or how I will spend this money. And so I could end with that kind of sentence. This is where you just have to get it out, right, writers? Write it, go on to the next paragraph, let it go, write it, and move on. And then you can always, if time permits, then you go back and sort of review and adjust and edit as you see fit. But again, many of us do not have that option. We have those 40 minutes, and we just have to express ourselves as quickly as possible on on the computer. So really, right, writers, that's what this video was about. And I took the prompt that JR had and used that prompt to then begin the writing. And I think the important part here is, what would I do with it? And so that might be, that last sentence may be important to, again, make sure that yes, I am addressing the prompt by saying, something like, when I tear it open and begin reading the letter, I realize there is a hefty check inside addressed to me. And maybe I end, the question is, what am I going to do with it? And maybe that's how I end it. But again, my timer stopped. So, right, writers, I stopped. But that may be something that I could add, time permitting, at the very end of the question, or at the very end of the essay, rather. So the question now is, what am I going to do with all this money? Maybe newly found money. Again, that's sort of just basic, right, writers? I hope this is helpful. I hope watching me struggle through the process helps you understand that it's not about being perfect. It's about having a test put pressure on you and seeing, okay, under pressure, under time constraints, ultimately, what are they able to do? What is the student able to come up with in a very short amount of time with very little preparation and tons of pressure? Thank you, Right Writers, for your time, your energy, your involvement. I hope you played along with me, and that you also perhaps were writing feverishly as I was. And we will be working on a conclusion in our next video, because I always tell students, you go from introduction, then create your conclusion, and then build your body paragraphs in between. And I do that because you can always have one body paragraph and let that be your body paragraph, but you will get more points taken away. However, you will get a lot more points taken away. I'm going to change that but to a however. You will have more points again taken away if you delete or exclude a conclusion, or you create, a poor, or not poor, but an undeveloped introduction. So that's why I tell students, always take that time, take the bulk of your writing time to make your introduction and conclusion. And again, you can always just make one giant body paragraph and that could be that could be sufficient again for a passing score for many of these essays. So with that said, Right Writers, conclusion, next video. Thank you again. Sorry for the verbose video. Take care, Right Writers. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.